Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could teach the gullible to never be so comfortable with lies they eat like comfort food? To disregard the bogus claims and pseudoscientific claims. Can you imagine just how much indeed the world would change? No more political predators playing on the populace, but ilkas and plots to shift and kill metropolis. No more villains with the title in the Bible, holding phony temper Bibles like the stuff they teach is vital. Imagine it was normal to have to prove a claim you make, and folks really feel ashamed expressing content that was fake. It's not to say we never make mistakes, it's just to say we go out of our way to show the evidence it takes.
Remain skeptical while you travel the road, the reason stay strapped with logic and fast. That's what it is, yo. Keep reality intact to help the truth grow. Question every claim, especially the ones you believe in. Remain skeptical while you travel the road, the reason.
Did he stop? Stop it!
Oh, wait, the jam's over?
Yeah, the jam's over. Song's over.
That's such good music.
We were having fun. Well, he was having fun.
I was jamming, man.
I was horrified.
I was born to jam.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Road to Reason.
It actually is afternoon. That's kind of crazy, man.
It is crazy. It's a nice rainy day here. I'm Tiffany Harding. And this is Paul something or other.
Yeah, that's what they say. But, you know, after last night and the amount of alcohol I drank, I'm not even sure it's morning or afternoon or what it is. No, I'm sorry.
It's a Sunday.
It's a Sunday.
The holiest day of the week.
Okay, so to get a little serious here.
Just a little.
So I got a couple announcements, and I got an awesome joke. Everybody's going to laugh. It's so funny.
I have not heard this joke yet, so I can't vouch for it. So my reaction when it happens will be 100% authentic.
Okay. But for the announcements first, I just want to give an announcement that somebody who is a viewer of the show contacted me and told me that on Ustream they get alerts in their email when the show comes on, so they can hit the link and come watch the show. That link brings them to a window that says off air. However, if they Google our Ustream account or go to Ustream and look us up, Road to Reason, and they go directly to our main page, that doesn't happen. So if you get the email alerts and it says off air, just go straight to the main page and look us up. That should not be an issue. And we apologize for that. Oh no, my computer has I just lost my computer.
Oh well. Great.
I hope my battery isn't dead. If it is, that's going to be a major problem. But
we'll be okay.
Anyway, so while this is rebooting, I'm going to tell my joke.
Wait. Give me a second.
100% on my battery, so I'm good.
Okay, give me a second to steel myself because, like I said, I have not heard this, and I am terrified of the outcome. I know Paul here, he's the corniest guy, but he's...
I'm funny.
Tell your joke. Okay. I'm ready.
All right, so there's this Irish family from County Cork, and they're particularly Catholic. And the daughter comes of age, and she moves to America. And so she comes to America for 5 years. She comes back to Ireland. And she comes up to her family and speaks to her father. And she goes, "Hey, father, I have something to tell you." She goes, "I done struck it big in America. I become filthy rich." And he says, "Oh, how did you do that?" She goes, "Well, I have to tell you, father, it's embarrassing, but I became a prostitute." Oh. And he's like, "Oh, no, the disgrace. I can't believe you become that." He's like, "You've disgraced the family. We're going to have to disown you and send you away." And she goes, "Well, father, before you do, I got me some gifts for the whole family I want to give away before you send me off."
Okay.
And he's like, "All right, well, give your gifts and then be gone because we can't have you muddling the family name." So she pulls out a $10,000 necklace for the mother, and the mother's just in awe. And she gets a brand new car to her brother, and the brother's like amazed because they don't even have a car in the family. And then she gives a deed to a brand new 500-acre farm to her father, and he goes, "My dear, I'm confused. What is it that you said you did again?" She says, "I become a prostitute, father." "Oh, a prostitute, that's fine. I thought you said a Protestant."
Okay, I'll give you that one.
Was that good?
I'll give you that one, even though you made them sound like they're from Transylvania.
Being Irish myself.
You can't do the accent.
No, we're just too drunk.
We're going to get in trouble, Paul. This episode is a special one.
Yes.
That's all I'm going to say.
And then the last announcement I have is on August 27th, and we'll be announcing this on Facebook very soon. And on our future shows, we're going to be doing a live studio audience here at Good Reason. We're going to have a special guest. We're going to be going over to Studio B. And we're going to try to fill anywhere from 25 to 50 seats. So if you're in the Northern Virginia, D.C., Maryland area, and an atheist, skeptic, or even if you're religious and you just want to come observe, not debate and get in any heated discussions, you're welcome to come to Fairfax Public Access on August 27th for a live studio audience show. And we're going to be doing it, I think it's going to be one of the first times in the station's history where we're going to control from Studio C.
Really?
The studio in Studio B and sending that out live to air. So
we're in Studio C right now.
We're in Studio
B
C.
is way over there.
Way over there.
It's huge.
It's huge, gigantic. Fit all sorts of people in.
So who's
it's
the
not
special-
green screen. I'm not going to announce it. I think Rob Penzak will be announcing it fairly soon.
Okay.
And I'm not going to ruin that for anyone. But
You're not even going to give me a hint?
nope, not for you. All right.
No, it's
so
okay.
we got some news items. And you want to open news? Or you want me to open news?
Well, I had a quick one about Mercer City, West Virginia. It seems as if for 75 years they had an elective Bible course offered for every school in the district. And when a lawsuit popped up from the Freedom from Religion Foundation, they decided maybe we should suspend this program until we figure out the constitutionality of this class. And I thought it was very interesting. So there's going to be a court battle there. And if they decide to keep the elective classes or if they decide to cut them out altogether. I just thought it was interesting, and that's my news. Paul?
Okay. I like that news, and I love Freedom from Religion Foundation.
Yes.
Go Freedom from Religion Foundation. Yeah, I like a lot of times these Christian organizations will say, okay, we're going to suspend it. They disband what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of try to drive it underground and figure out ways to sneak it back in. The other thing, though, that they'll do is they'll say, okay, well, we want to continue having it, but we have to allow other religions in. And I hope you guys do that.
Yeah.
Because I want to go into the schools and I want to teach Scientology and Xenu, the Galactic Overlord, and Satan.
Yes, that's where the Church of Satan would come in and really test there, because that's what they love to do.
Yeah.
They love to do it. I actually follow the Church of Satan on Twitter, and they're great. So, no, they go out of their way to prove that, hey, if you want, it's all or nothing.
I want Xenu, man. Xenu is so much more interesting to me. 75 million years ago, the evil galactic overlord Prince Xenu
Could
brought
be a
13
clone.
trillion aliens to Tegiak, which is Earth, and blew them up in volcanoes with hydrogen bombs.
In Hawaii.
And sucked them up into giant soul suckers in the sky and implanted 3D images into their Thetan little souls that are now stuck to our bodies and cause all of our problems.
Don't think about it too much.
I'm totally vested in it.
Right,
yeah.
that 75 million years ago, the islands of Hawaii didn't exist. But
Well,
whatever.
speaking of crazy beliefs, there's some really good news. We talk a lot on this show about people who are atheists or skeptics being murdered. We talk about abuse of religions, but there is some good news. According to a Pew Research poll, there is a 35-year low in creationism beliefs in the United States.
Which is funny.
Which is awesome, because it's only now 38% of Americans now believe in a young Earth. Well, some vestige. Now, some of them will believe in the Noah's Ark, but they don't believe in the we're 10,000 years old. They always kind of have to mix it up. But the numbers are basically that only about 38% hold those kind of views. And in fact, a larger percentage of people still believe in God, but they kind of believe in this, it's a personal God. It's like,
Right.
how I relate to the universe kind
Oh,
of
weak
thing.
sauce. I like my wrathful, vengeful gods that rain fire from the sky and turn your wife into salt. That's what I like.
Or our evil galactic overlords.
Or evil galactic overlords. That's actually what you're saying, and I want you to get back to that. But I found out today, May 28, 2017, is the 10-year anniversary of the opening of Ken Ham's Creation Museum. And 10 years ago today, this wonderful blight in Petersburg, Kentucky opened up. Not the Ark, not the gigantic Ark, but the original Creation Museum that has dinosaurs with saddles on them, so kids can take pictures of riding the dinosaurs like the people did back in Noah times. Creationism is still a major part of our country.
Well, this is interesting that you bring this up, because both this Creation Museum and EARC in particular are dying fast.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm betting that dumbass political base in that country, or excuse me, that I want it to be another country, but in that state, are really reeling right now from the tax issues, from giving him all those tax breaks, because he's now costing them money.
Yeah, so I've heard that the county where the ARC theme park, I don't even know what you would call it, is actually at a loss, and we're actually contemplating filing for bankruptcy because of all the money they pumped in, and Ken Ham assured them that there would be so much business that they wouldn't have to worry about it, and that is not the case, and so they're actually kind of suffering.
So I think that's a reflection of what this Pew Research poll shows.
It's interesting.
Just people are just not buying it. They're not that excited about it. And the Scopes monkey trials, more than 90 years ago, has been largely attributed to the generational shift in this, which is about changing how people think in public schools about religion. And this is interesting because what they found is that the more educated someone is, the higher degree of education they have, the less religious they are.
Right.
53% of people who hold just a religion, or who hold just a high school diploma or less, tend to believe in God, whereas this like down in the 20% range for people who have college educations.
That's interesting.
So.
Now, piggybacking off of what you said 38% of people believe in young-ish Earth creationism.
Have vestiges of that.
Yeah,
it's not like hardcore.
I found some interesting statistics too. 42% of Americans believe in ghosts. Like literal ghosts. And 61% believe that they know somebody who has seen a ghost. So more people believe in someone else seeing a ghost than in creationism. I just think it's hilarious. Oh, and the number of people who believe UFOs are real has gone up. UFOs has gone up, creationism has gone down. That could be a whole episode where we could talk about why that is.
Yes, we will. And when we come back from our break, we will maybe touch on that a little bit, but today we are going to be doing the year in review.
So far, so good.
Or as Tiffany likes to say, the urine in review.
I only said it once. Okay.
All right. We'll see you all in a few minutes.
Bye.
When I was younger, I didn't want to admit I had a serious disease. Because of my diabetes, I lost the sight in my left eye. Misconceptions continue to surround this monster public health issue. But the simple truth is, diabetes can often be prevented and complications avoided. You're not alone. Understand the realities of diabetes and know that you can manage it and lead a full, active life.
There's an alarming trend in the world today. Everywhere you go, people are saying that cinema is dead. But cinema is not dead. My name is Count Simon Gauntley, and on my television program, Count Gauntley's Horrors from the Public Domain, I make it my mission to resurrect forgotten film classics. I promise to dredge the sewers and ford the stagnant streams of film history to ensure that no film is truly lost to the ages. Count Gauntley and FPA, keeping cinema alive! Alive! Alive!
Well, even though Joseph's been gone 18 months, we've made the decision to keep all his things as they were when he was here last. I finally just packed his toothbrush away like 6 months ago. It had been sitting on the counter in the bathroom. And I was cleaning the bathroom one day and I just thought, okay, it's time to put the toothbrush in the medicine cabinet.
So, I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born, and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that! That's disgusting! Oh, poop already! You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
This is Richard Dawkins. Doing commercials is unfamiliar territory for me, but I'm inviting you to watch Road to Reason, a skeptic's guide to the 21st century, on Fairfax Public Access every Sunday. Each week, the hosts tackle wishful thinking, religion, pseudoscience, and the harm they cause, with a combination of facts, humor, and community involvement. They challenge believers to defend their faith and give you, the skeptic, a voice. With live call-ins for viewers and streaming on the World Wide Web, there's never a dull moment. Don't wait. Look at them now on Facebook and YouTube, and remember to watch Road to Reason, a skeptic's guide to the 21st century, or there'll be hell to pay.
So we're going to get back into the show here. We're just chatting.
We're talking about cheesy horror films and Count Godley.
I would love to see. He's on this station.
Yeah, he's at the station. I think his stuff goes on Channel 10.
Okay.
We re-air, but we actually, I think, are on 37 or 36 live. So, okay, so we want to talk about the stuff we've covered in the last year. And we certainly invite people to call in if they like to call in and share their favorite moments. Also, in this YouTube section, you're free to leave comments. Want to talk to us about things you liked, you didn't like. We know that we, at the show, cover a broad range of perspectives. We don't really take camps. We're not into the anti or pro SJW camp. We will allow either side to come in and talk because they're both members of the atheist and skeptic community.
That's what's good about, I believe, about our community is that we don't force you to take a stance on anything.
Or this portion of the
ideally,
community.
Ideally.
Yeah.
You could be liberal, conservative, you can be, no.
Republican or Democrat.
The only thing you can't be is a jerk.
And even then, they allow me around here, so I guess.
But the year in review, even though it's May.
Year in the review, yeah. Well, it's like, we're midway, so
we're
we want to talk about.
But we have had a lot.
And we want to know who you guys want to have on. Like, I want to have Phil Torres back on.
Okay.
I want to talk about AI, and David Tamayo and I recently had a discussion about. He's a big fan of Google cars and self-driving cars. And
right.
I'm not. I mean, I see somebody hacking that and causing millions of deaths.
Okay.
Or I see people like ISIS figuring they don't even have to blow themselves up anymore. They can just send a bomb in a car and send it somewhere.
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, but the other thing is to understand the differences between smart technology and AI. And everybody thinks AI, they think, oh, well, no. It'll go rogue. It'll turn on us. That's a possibility. It could.
You've been watching too many Terminator movies.
But the question, it's like Stephen Hawkins talked about. He says that it doesn't even have to be angry. It just can see us as an impediment to doing what it wants to do. But the thing I'm more concerned about that nobody's talking about is human beings using AI to attack each other. About us being able to really just repress, hold down other groups of people, and having a artificial intelligence aid us in that process. We are a species that seems to have used every weapon that we've ever created against our brothers and sisters. We use every technology we have to hold other people down, to exploit one another.
Right.
And now we're going to go to something that can outthink us and try to use it to outthink our fellow human beings.
You remind me of an interview I saw Dr. Stephen Hawking give once. He was talking to John Oliver, and he told the story about an AI. He said one day, it's a speculation, he said one day a computer was put online, and it was the most magnificent AI. And so they asked the computer, they said, "Computer, is there a God?" And then the computer said, "Well, there is now." And then lightning struck, and it couldn't be turned off. So there you go.
There you go. It was on John Oliver, so there you go.
He was interviewed, and John Oliver said, that's the most terrifying thing I've ever heard. That's why, and I don't want to get too far off topic, but I've heard people say the scariest movie monster of the past 50 years is not Freddy or Jason, it's actually HAL 9000 from 2001.
If you ever hear a computer program go, just a moment, you're in trouble.
Yeah. So HAL, we could go into that, but they say HAL is one of the most terrifying because we depend on him.
I agree.
And he can kill us all without even
The
feeling
book, the book is
remorse.
different than the movie. In the book, he just evacuated the air from the entire show.
Oh, that would have been so much more easy.
So-
That would have been so easy.
But so we're going to try to get Phil Torres back on to talk about that. I actually have some idea. I actually talked to a professor recently who studies this stuff, and I have to admit, I've impressed myself. It kind of blew his mind.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like, hey, computers, an artificial intelligence computer, we wouldn't be able to relate to it.
Right.
And the reason is it doesn't know what it is to be a small child. It doesn't know what it is to be afraid of the dark. All the things that make us human and functioning.
I see.
It doesn't. It can't. We are partially. Our rationality also comes from our irrationality.
That's scary.
And a computer will never actually be able to have those experiences. So I'd be interested in what Phil has to say to that. So Phil, I hope you're watching. We're going to get you back on now. So on to some of our previous shows. Okay, I want to talk about some of the awesome guests that we've had on.
Yes.
I want to talk about some of the topics that we covered, and I think for me there were some that I really liked, and there were some that I felt were lacking, and I want to talk about that.
None of the ones that I was on, though, right?
Oh my God, Tiffany.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we did have a lot of really great hosts, and I consider myself lucky to have interviewed some of them, and I love.
One of the ones you interviewed that we've had on twice, once in the studio, was Aaron
so
Rock.
unfair. I was out of town when he came in.
Oh, you got that? There he is.
Yeah.
You got to interview that guy.
Yeah, I interviewed him over Skype back in, oh my goodness.
It was earlier this year.
Yeah, it was early this year, I think February, March. And he came back live
In studio.
which was
We've
great.
now had Richard Dawkins, Aaron Ra. I mean, we did. God, what's his name? The physicist.
Not Phil Platt.
No. But he wasn't in studio. We did him over the internet. It'll come to me later. But we continue to get awesome guests on this show, and they give really great interviews. And the thing I love about Aaron Ra right now is Aaron Ra. You know, so you don't want to say Aaron. He doesn't like that. Aaron.
No, we talked about that.
He's running for state senate in Texas. And I just love how this guy operates. He doesn't just run campaign commercials. He actually shows up at city council meetings and stirs the pots. Like
In a state that really, really, really needs him,
Yeah.
Texas.
Yeah.
No offense to any Texans, but when it comes to religious repression, Texas is unabashedly.
There are places that are worse.
There are places that are worse.
Kentucky, Alabama, places like that. But Texas is not good. And one of the things he's taking on right now is textbooks in the schools.
Right.
What they're
We
teaching.
talked about that.
And he showed up at some type of like board of education meeting. It was like some, I forget who these guys were, but they were like top people. And he just basically went into the public comment section, and he actually is like one of these people who got to talk longer than he was supposed to, because they were just so stunned. They didn't do the time, sir, time.
Right.
They were kind of like,
Yeah.
they were just like.
First of all, he's like 8 feet tall, and he's very intimidating. But that's what you need.
I just
You need
don't think that
someone-
these people were expecting anyone to say anything like this.
Yeah. No,
And it was like
expecting dissent.
he did the normal Aaron Ra thing. It's like, you can't possibly be right. Here are the facts and the evidence, and this is child abuse if you do this, and this and this is what the law is. And like one of the guys, like under his breath, was like mumbling something, about Aaron. But the others were just like, "Oh, thank you, Mr. Ra," And
Oh, like okay, goodbye. Thank you,
then
you're done.
Aaron's wife got up, and then she brought up something, and somebody else got up, and they brought something. So it was really good to see that these people need to understand that there is historical, legal, authoritative processes and positions that what they've been trying to push is not viable.
Right.
And so that is a great candidate for public office.
Someone who's not afraid to speak out.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is interesting, and I wish him luck.
Well, it's one of these things where I really believe that, why are you in politics if it's not to really make change? And I'm not talking about just listening to your constituents and throwing, a ballot switch or submitting a vote card before an assembly. There was a congressman, or senator, I'm sorry, who died defending people down at Jonestown. And he's the only.
Leo
Johnson.
O'Brien.
Or was it
Lee
Leo Jo- I thought it was
O'Brien.
Leo O'Brien? I thought
No,
it was Leo
Lee
Johnson.
O'Brien. He was the only congressman to ever
Ever
die
die,
in the in his duties.
Right.
He went to Guyana because some of his constituents,
That's right.
family members were down there.
And that's a politician.
Wow,
who
how do I
think-
know that?
Because you're as old as I am. I don't know.
No.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. You're 21.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Delicate flower.
but I mean, that to me is what a politician should be. It should be somebody who
Who's
is
willing
not
to go
just
down there.
talking in front of the camera, who's literally showing up in uncomfortable situations and fighting for real progressive social change.
Could you imagine what he could have accomplished if he wasn't murdered by cultists?
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
So we're not religious, but we're keeping our fingers crossed for you. We don't want you getting murdered. We love you. Hope you win and you make some
He
real
will.
change.
Well,
I don't
we'll
think,
see.
I don't think
It's
he has.
Texas.
I think the district that he's in just doesn't have the numbers. But in either case, that's another thing is it's not a mistake to run if you do it from a public education standpoint. One, we want people to know it's safe to run as an atheist. You can and you should. And then number two, we need to normalize that so that it's not taboo. It's not strange to the voting base or scary to them. So if you are an atheist and a skeptic, you should be out about it when you're running for politics. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, I don't want to get too far off topic, but what if it...
Well, we're on topic because he was on the show, but go ahead.
No, say, what if, being a non-believer hinders your campaign? Somebody will try to throw that at you, be like, can you believe this person? Doesn't even go to church.
And then after a while, it gets old. After a while, see, this is my point is, it's like, no, I don't. And I still care about kids. I still care about, elderly. I still care about, regulatory and safety. And I don't eat babies and I don't worship Satan. And this is the thing, we need to take the stigma away from them. We need to normalize it so that when they go, you're this, you're that, we go, you know what, you're a bigot because you have a problem with people who are atheists.
Oh, sorry. Well, here's the thing. With that, what you just said, and then earlier today, what you just said, fewer people are believers.
Yes.
Do you think that'll help things go up?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if it'll make things go up because I think at the end of the day, you still have to vote on the things those people care about.
Right.
But I think taking religion away as one of those things that's a determining factor is vital.
Right.
We are used to having politicians that are not our religion running our lives.
Right.
So, you got people who are Catholic voting for Protestants or Mormons or whatever because they like their policies on other issues. The only thing we're doing is making atheists and skeptics fall into that same category.
Should we say, this person will fight for you. They're not motivated by religion.
Exactly.
Okay.
So,
good. Who else did we have on this year?
Okay, that's quite all right. We've had a lot of good people on. Well, one of the shows we did wasn't so much a person. We did a show on Trump's religious executive order about.
I did not. Yeah.
And I thought it was amusing. A guy who here you can see. Well, that's charter schools, but he talked about passing religious protection laws for religions in the United States which are not persecuted, which have more freedoms and rights than they've ever had before.
So lucky. They don't know
I think they're confusing the fact that people aren't buying their garbage anymore with being repressed. Like the fact that people don't want to actually go to church or buy into that stuff somehow mean they've seen their numbers dwindling, and I think they see their political power being strained and put up against the wall, and they somehow equate that with being repressed.
So it's not just the religion itself; it's the extremism that's turning people off.
No, I just think I have to say I honestly think the age of the internet has really changed everything.
Oh yeah.
I think that people are able to have a doubt, and they can step outside their community, and they can do it anonymously.
That's true.
And they can ask other people, have you had these feelings? What do you think about this? And they don't have to fear reprisal for asking questions.
That's true.
And it allows them to answer those questions for themselves in record time and in a safe environment. And I think people are stepping away from their churches in record numbers.
I became a non-believer sneaking books and hiding books. And my family at the time wasn't the most accommodating when it came to non-belief. But I'm just imagining if a 16-year-old me had the internet and were able to talk to people, it would have been so much faster, I believe.
Your parents could be upstairs saying their prayers at night while you're downstairs.
I was
as a keyboard warrior going, religion is poison.
Literally hiding books, that I didn't want to be questioned about.
And now you don't have to do that.
And no, I don't have to do that.
Just clear your web browser history.
I wish there was an app that, like, if you died or something, it would just clear your browser history.
Well, you'd be dead, so you wouldn't care.
No. The phone would know you're dead, and then it would send a message to your computer to say, clear everything off.
No,
of
I'm
this
saying,
thing.
why would you care if you're dead?
I mean, I don't want people to be awkward at my funeral. You should have seen what was on her browser.
I'm awkward just being around you, man.
You should see what's on her browser history. Oh, man.
But you won't care because you won't be around to
That's
care.
true.
So anyway, Mr. I want to protect religious rights also simultaneously wants to block people from Muslim countries. And the hypocrisy is just unbelievable that this is the time that we're living in. So, I mean, it's and you and I were talking before the show, and I think a lot of people are in agreement. He's not religious.
I don't think he's religious at all. I think it's a waste of time to him.
Yeah.
And anything that doesn't add to your profit or your brand is irrelevant. And so I think religion is one thing that he doesn't really care about.
I don't know that he cares a whole lot about much of anything.
No.
The danger is with him is
he knows what sells.
Well, it's even worse than that. Is that he doesn't care about religion. He lets someone like Mike Pence
Oh, okay,
run
I
with
see what you're
that
saying.
ball.
I see what you're saying.
He kind of has a hands-off, shows up, pays lip service occasionally to it. Mm-hmm. And then you have this guy that no one's really paying attention to, really pushing religion. And he's doing it behind the scenes, and he's getting a lot accomplished, which makes me kind of sick to my stomach.
And he's also more organized, more
intelligent.
He's actually a polished politician.
Well, now to be fair, my pet rock has got a few IQ points up on certain.
You still have a pet rock. I'm sorry, it's 2017, man.
Hey, man, they're low maintenance. You don't have to worry about feeding them or watering them, taking them out to go to the bathroom or anything like that.
Just get it wet. It's clean. Put it down.
Exactly.
Sorry.
And I tend to put it out to have intellectual discussions with Jehovah's Witnesses when they come to the door and engage them. So.
I think it's great.
All right. So, hey, one of the things I want to talk about that I think, that is awesome that we covered on our show is Scientology.
Yay.
And everybody knows Radio Paul from his days of protesting Scientology.
Yay.
But we have had on Chris Shelton.
Which was hosted by lovely Miss Harding there on the left. On the right, sorry.
The bald-headed lady on the right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, your hair was just tilted
I
back.
know, my head was back.
And we have had on Aaron Smith-Levin, who was also on our show. And both of these people were in Scientology.
Yes.
And the thing I love is people are speaking out more than ever. Mm-hmm. And this is, again, an attribute, I think, to the internet. One
of the questions I asked Chris Shelton was, what do you think is going to take to knock down the church, right? What do you think? No, he actually had an answer.
Really?
He said, he told us that Dave Miscavige has no succession plan. He is the I am.
That's correct. I am.
Yes, he is the I am. He is the end all and be all. He's so arrogant that he's not planned for the day that he's not there. Yeah. And every decision, Chris Shelton told me this, every decision goes through
If Chris Shelton said it, you know it's true.
And one thing that shocked me was that he hadn't been out of the church for very long.
Yeah.
And he spent so much of his life working for David Miscavige. And so he said Miscavige is so concerned that all decisions are made by him. So if he were to pass away, nobody will know what to do. And they say that, he said David Miscavige dying might be what it'll take to bring the church.
The church then is an institution, because I've also talked to Chris, but there would always be some groups out there that would call themselves Scientology.
Oh, the independent Scientology.
There'd be some remnant of the old church. But their power to really go after people would diminish with the death of David Miscavige. The question, though, is Monique Yenling, who is Scientology's lawyer, is now apparently on their board of directors. Mm-hmm. So you now have people that are lawyers that are on that. So the question is, would the institution survive through someone like her?
Right.
And what would that look like? But yes, I agree. Chris is correct that, and it's not that just it's not just that David hasn't made these plans. David is afraid, in my opinion, to make the plans, because if he puts into writing now who takes power when certain things happen, he's afraid people will move against him so that they can take that power.
He's so benevolent,
so by
paranoid.
not allowing something to even go into writing, he can't. There's no way that anyone can execute betrayal against him.
So if the certainty is nebulous and not sure, then everyone's walking around in darkness and confusion, and the only light we will have is Miscavige.
And that he's painting himself that way.
Wow.
He is now writing himself in what Scientologists call source. Source was Hubbard.
Yes.
Everything stems from Hubbard. Well, now
Remember that story he told about the volcanoes and
yeah, exactly. God, that Hubbard was such a genius. If only I had known about those Thetan catchers in the sky, before.
My favorite movie is Battlefield Earth. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna be sick.
My favorite. Can I do it? Can I do it, please? My favorite line from that movie. While you are learning how to spell your name. Sorry. John
Our
Paul
friendly bartender.
When he pulls the head. Okay.
Bartender.
We're not gonna have a show about Battlefield Earth, but it was written by L. Ron Hubbard. If you didn't know, it was written by the creator.
Rated as one of the worst Hollywood films of all time, and we're not talking like Plan 9 from Outer Space bad, which is actually kind of good in a fun, campy kind of way.
Right.
We're talking about as what was his name? I can't say his name on air, but there's a guy named Johnny S.H.I. blank Case, and he does movie reviews. And he said watching Battlefield Earth was like trying to paddle up a river of crap using your tongue as the paddle. And I'm like,
but the auteur of that marvelous piece of cinema has created a religion that can now sue anybody anywhere. It's baffling. It really
God
is.
bless America. All right.
Your name.
So we covered the Women's March.
Yes.
And I want
we were there.
We were both there.
I want a quick story. Paul and I were there. We met. I was like, okay, we're gonna march, and we lost each other in 3 minutes. The whole group. No, that's how many people were there.
There was a lot.
We were swallowed up.
It was impressive.
It was very impressive. But
I have some
so that's
critical points.
Amanda and David.
David and the other woman, God, I'm trying to remember her name, and I apologize. I don't mean any disrespect. We only had her on the one time, and I actually know her. I met her at Rick's party one year, and my deepest apologies. It just slipped my brain. But the point is, they talked about on that episode something that I don't think that really got fully addressed. I would like to talk a little bit about. It was some observations I had of the Women's March.
And I will share my observations as well.
Absolutely, because all viewpoints are valid on the show.
Yes, and we were both there. We both went. We didn't go together. We met up with a group of others, and
so they had a couple speakers at the Women's March that got a lot of flack. And one of them I actually tend to share some concerns with. The other one I think were a little, were actually not productive to be so critical of her. And the two people were Linda Sarsour, and Donna Hilton. Linda Sarsour is a Muslim woman. I do find some of her arguments and discussions on U.S. imperialism and repression of Palestinians, things that I do identify with, about how the U.S. meddles in affairs overseas. But the issues I have is she openly and publicly, even at the Women's March, was pushing for Sharia law.
I was standing next to Mark Nebo at the time, and when I heard her say that.
Right. And she says really positive things like we will not rest until women have equality at all levels of leadership in society. We work peacefully while recognizing there is no true peace without justice and equality for all, which I concur with. But when she says things like, if you're still paying interest, then Sharia law hasn't taken over America yet, and then she went on to espouse the virtues of Sharia law. She also was criticizing women who'd been arrested in Saudi Arabia for driving cars and were detained, basically saying that Saudi Arabia gives paid maternity leave, and therefore, if you're worried about women not being able to drive, you put other women to shame.
That is a logical fallacy, if I ever heard one. I remember hearing her and thinking, and standing next to the person I was with at the march, and we were just like, really, seriously? But that logical fallacy of, well, you have X, so that means Y is inconsequential. That doesn't make sense.
Right. And this is interesting because most people who would stand up to Saudi Arabia, which is a Sharia law country, who has just been put on the UN Human Rights Commission for Women, which is an offense and an atrocity to women everywhere, to every human being everywhere. And anyone who would criticize that, I don't understand how they can then turn around and say her positions on Sharia law are therefore valid, because you're either for the Sharia law or you're not.
Yeah.
Now,
one thing Sharia law makes clear is that there's no such thing as picking and choosing what laws you want.
I mean, a system of laws that says that if a woman is raped, she has to have 3 male witnesses point and say she wasn't raped in order for her not to be beaten, whipped, or possibly be put to death, or that she was raped and that she didn't consent out of marriage. Sex.
And one thing I'm not clear is no amount of women could say it, or
no amount of women. So this is the issue that I have. Now, I'm not saying she shouldn't have been allowed to speak at the Women's March.
Go ahead and speak all you want.
And she shouldn't even been allowed to say what she said. I just wish that they had somebody who had an opposing point of view there. On the other hand, we have the other woman who is Donna Hilton, and Donna Hilton was convicted in 1986 of second-degree murder, 2 counts of kidnapping and sexually torturing a
Say that one more time, but louder, please.
Okay. Donna Hilton was convicted of second-degree murder and 2 counts of first-degree kidnapping in 1986. They also sexually abused this senior citizen, and she caught even more hell than Linda Sarsour. The difference that I see in these two people is that Donna has paid for her debt to society. Right. She's never made excuses for what she did. She paid for it. She became involved in politics in prison, looking at women's conditions in prisons, women of minority in prison, got out, started looking at social issues and how they contribute to people from disadvantaged incomes and neighborhoods, getting involved in crime and things of this nature. I think she's a perfect example of someone that should be allowed to speak at a women's march. She's definitely a woman who has a lot of obstacles, be it though she created some of those obstacles herself.
What is more empowering than a woman who was basically, at the bottom, working her way, paying for her crimes, and then working her way back up.
And is speaking on, trying to empower women not to be in those positions.
They don't make the same mistakes I did.
Exactly. So I think she caught an amount of unfair, opposition.
Why?
And a lot of anger. Well, this is the thing. It's like, I'm not going to sit here and go because she's black or because she's a woman. I'm going to say it's because people are so incensed by the crime that she did that they can't see past that.
Then what's the point of jail?
Well, and this is where we start getting into where social justice issues do have value in our society, because we need to see past the black and white barriers that are right before us. We do need to look at things from a humanistic standpoint. So this is where I actually have to say that I think that on the case of Linda Sarsour, there should have been more discussion. I do have to say that I am...
People were mad?
People were pissed about both of those people.
Right.
I am not happy with Linda Sarsour's position on Sharia law. I do support her and other... I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah. I do support her positions on Palestinian rights and things of that nature. And this is why I think, we need to open dialogue on these types of issues because we have these polarizing camps in our community. For instance, I've taken to heart, and I'm very grateful that a lot of people that I would call progressives, left-leaning, actually have said something that I think you had mentioned to me that you kind of agreed with and I agreed with, is that the Women's March missed a lot of valuable opportunities to make real dialogue. The thing that people remember when you ask them about the Women's March is
hats.
Yeah, the vagina hats. Madonna and Ashley Judd talking about how they're nasty women, and
I get it,
right. But this is what people took away. Now,
I've even heard
these aren't empowering. These aren't addressing real issues and discussing real solutions. Like, for instance, one thing we're going through right now in this country is a lot of debate, laws changing, asset allocations to things like health care.
Right.
We should be having discussions as to why women's reproductive rights are being excluded from health care coverage.
Right.
That was hardly discussed at all at this. And, and you're waiting. If you want to be known for being a nasty woman, I have no doubt you can accomplish that. Just take that attitude.
Just give me 5 minutes.
I need even less than that. On the other side, if you want to be known as someone who is articulate and who's defending women's rights, it takes a little bit more work than having this outraged mentality.
Like I said, I get it. I get why. I think that one problem with the march was that people were still kind of raw and angry about the inauguration the day before, and they let the focus slip away from them.
I think they did.
You see what I mean? And one thing we could talk about, because Muriel Bowser spoke at the march, and I don't want to take up too much time, but a few months ago there was a spate of missing black girls in DC, and then they had a community town hall. And a lot of people mentioned that where are all these women's marchers who were saying all women, all females, all children, need to be, acknowledged. What happened to them? Where were they? Because we got the message, and it kind of flew away from everybody. I mean, I loved it. Mm-hmm. I loved the march, but there were a lot of missed opportunities.
Yeah, there were. And the other thing is people also have to think about, their behavior, and will it be cringeworthy in 10 years' time?
No.
If there were a group of men, and we all wore a bunch of penis hats,
sorry, the middle image.
Right, people be calling us dickheads.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
just be flopping around.
It's just like, what are you saying? Right. It's like that is one of those things that will become obsolete almost as soon as you do it.
And I've even heard some trans women have said that having that doesn't necessarily mean you're a woman. It's not. It goes in broadly. I think
it's a distraction from the really important discussions.
You want to shock.
And you shock, and then you really don't. You shock people into the camps they're already in.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for that solidarity. I'm looking to close the gaps. I'm looking for people hey, you're a right winger, right?
Not me. Don't look at me and say that.
I'm just saying you are. But you got a mother, right?
Yeah.
And your mother has reproductive needs, right?
Well,
and you start humanizing, and you start getting them to relate to their own position and people they care about, and you start closing these bridges a little bit.
Right.
You at least make the effort. Showing up to someone with a vagina cap on and screaming in their face that they're a misogynistic pig isn't going to change anything.
That's true. It's going to make them more resentful. Yeah. And I mean, not to say that you have to be perfectly respectable all the time.
No,
to
you
get
don't.
someone to listen
You can do
to
anything you can do anything you want, anytime you want. I believe in free speech. I also love street theater. I'm an obnoxious jerk sometimes when I'm on the street, and I do it purely for theatrical purposes. My point is that this rally was an important rally, and I think that there were some really important issues regarding women's welfare that slipped through the cracks, and I think it did it at the expense of behavior that was not as constructive as it should have been.
And I'm sorry I lost you in the crowd.
That's I'm just look like every other white guy. I just disappear in the
And I was like, oh man, how do I find Paul? Okay, he's a white man. Damn it. I couldn't find him again.
Just half of the women's march.
Half of the Christmas marchers there. But it was nice to see the number of men there.
Yeah, it is nice. It's a solidarity thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Next.
okay, so we talked about Betsy DeVos's charter schools.
Did you see what happened to her at Bethune-Cookman?
Where?
Bethune-Cookman College.
No.
It's an HBCU. It's a historically black college university. For some reason, someone thought it would be a good idea to have her there to do the commencement speech.
Which they're entitled to.
Students stood up and turned around and showed their backs to her.
They've been doing that a lot lately.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
It happened to Paul Ryan today.
Yeah. And I'm all for that too.
Children did.
I mean, I don't believe that people should disrupt or, shut down the discussion, but they have every right to pull one of these numbers. It's just it's like
read between the lines,
which is like we don't like your message.
Right. You don't yell. You don't have to yell. You don't have to.
I think if half the student body gets up and turns their back to you, that actually may make the person isn't so threatened by that.
Right.
But I hope that they go, God, I'm really missing something here.
Yeah, maybe I should figure out why.
Maybe I should figure out why these people are this upset. It's a way of telling that person, we dismiss you, but they're not so threatening that their defenses go up or they shut out any critical thinking.
So go on.
So anyway,
what does she do now?
So this is what we talked about. We talked about the charter schools. And our director just had some statistics up there, but one of the things is that there's a direct correlation in charter schools with religious attitudes. And this is where we're talking about earlier in the show about how there's less religion or religious beliefs in the United States right now. Well, I think the religious right is pushing back because they understand that the education system is central in that. The more educated you are, the less religious you are. The more that you have control over the education system, the more you can interject.
Right.
However, all these charter schools are failing. They have lower SAT scores. They have their students go off to lower level job careers. Overall, these things are poison. Of course, the people who are running them are making bank on them because they're business. And if you're able to bleed finances out of our society, and you're not giving back when it comes to education, that's detrimental. So we did cover a really great show on that. If you all haven't seen that, I highly recommend watching that episode.
Just quickly, a charter school is like a quasi-private school.
Correct.
So that
they can get public funds,
but
are administered and operated by a private organization. And because they're private, they can be religious.
Right.
They can actually teach you that the world's flat.
Or going back to the top of the show, creationism.
We had a guy here, I don't know if he's still at the station. He used to do some type of religious show here. And nice guy, as they often are. And he was doing one of his shows and he was talking about how he was into homeschooling. And he says in his show, he said, well, let me give an example why I support homeschooling. We're able to integrate education and religion. So there's an objective there, but this is no joke. This is what he said. He goes, so let's say that the kid comes home and he shows his homework and it says that 10,000 Christians were sent off, to be killed by lions in the Roman arenas, but only 5,000 were killed. How many Christians were not killed? And he's like, isn't that great? And I'm like, so you're teaching, he goes, we're teaching math and religion. And he's like giving this as an example. And it's like, well, what you're doing is you're polluting science and mythology, and you're trying to give legitimacy to it under the umbrella of education.
And like with that logic, you could do that with anything, not just Christianity. Like, the Empire sends out 3,000 TIE fighters and half of them get shot down. How many TIE fighters are left? That sort of thing.
But if you did that with science fiction, people would recognize it as science fiction. You do it with religion, somehow it's now
science fiction
protected.
Be more fun. That's what I'm saying.
All right, so just to kind of go over some of the other stuff that we've gone halfway into the year on. We had Rob Boston from Americans United for separation of church and state.
That was cool.
We've had David Niosi on as well. He looks fighting for separation of church and state. He's actually leading a Pledge of Allegiance boycott for schools. So they actually want kids to boycott that. They want the school well, no, they want that they wait for the school to retaliate against the student, and then they go and file suit and intervene. So they say they get a lot of complaints from students saying that the teachers are degrading them.
Right.
Allison, who's been hosting on our show in the past, one of her sons was involved where he didn't want to stand up, and the teacher gave him trouble. She contacted the school, said, "You're not authorized to force my child to say this. I don't even want you talking to him. I don't even want you explaining," because then the teacher came back and was trying to explain how many people had died for our country and why he should stand. It's like, that's none of your business.
Do you want to hear a quick story? I got in trouble because I used to be an English teacher, and I did not require my kids to do the pledge. And nobody complained until it was Parents Observance Day, and then I just started class. And then a parent complained. And then I had to be sat down, and the principal talked to me like, you have to do the pledge. You know, I was a teacher, and I didn't force it. I said, no, I'm not bothering with it. It's just interesting, that's all.
Which version of the pledge?
The real one, the post-1957 one.
All right, so look, we only got a couple minutes left. We got about three minutes left in the show.
Hours flown past.
By quick.
Because I like Paul.
We want to know your opinions, your points of views. One of the things I'd like to talk about too, real quickly before we go, was the Steve Shives and Lacey Green
and I like both of these people.
Fiasco that's been kind of going on recently. Lacey Green has attempted to open dialogue for people where in the area of, I guess people would identify as anti-feminist, but they do it because of the experiences they have, not just because they're misogynists. She's open to dialogue and having honest discourse with them. And Steve Shives who's been on our show and is always welcome on our show, has taken a very aggressive standpoints towards her. Steve has unfortunately developed a reputation for being very closed-minded and aggressive and angry with people who don't share his points of views. We'd love to see Steve. I would love to see Steve take a more open standpoint on that. But if any of you out there would like to challenge either of these people to come on our show, maybe we could host a debate between the two.
That would be cool.
So.
I would say any other guests or topics that you want us to discuss, please leave them in the comments down underneath if you're watching this on YouTube. And
absolutely.
Well, that's it.
So we're going to have some awesome guests coming up. We got about a minute and a half left. We're going to have Phil Torres come back on. I also have a professor that I've worked with who has done discussions on the likelihood of any type of God existing and the mental processes that go on in people's heads that allow them to believe and formulate a God and how they don't differ from other imaginary beliefs. Literally have the exact same qualities. So that'll be
Isn't that interesting?
Yes. Interesting discussion.
It is going to be an interesting discussion.
And it's almost time for me to go hit the bar. So.
Save me from Paul.
What are you talking about? I'm the voice of God on Road to Reason.
When you see him, it's him. So anyway, I'm Tiffany Harding.
Paul Sheehan.
Welcome to Road to Reason, and now we're gonna say goodbye.
Well, are we? No, we got like 40
time.
seconds left, man.
You can think of something to say.
I can think of a few things to say, but
oh my goodness,
we'll be back next week if I do.
We will be back next week.
We will be back next week. So make sure to check out our upcoming, like I said, and pay serious attention to the August 27th show. We want as many people.
It's not on his computer.
We're not going to release it. We're not going to release it right now. But we want to build the hunger and suspense. And Rob Penzak will be announcing that, but it'll be a live studio audience.
There you go.
If you're local, come in, be a member of the audience.
See ya.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye-bye.